Hey all, Cinder here with another video on how I would adapt the Railway series. Today's video covers not a story, but a whole book. That being Thomas and the Twins, as voted for by you guys on my community tab. Don't worry, James and the Diesel Engines will come next. Make sure that you're subscribed and click Toby's bell to be notified for when I post more content like this in the future, and let's get started. So this book was written by Christopher Awdry as the 33rd installment of the Railway series. The theme of this book is quite an interesting one. The bridge on Thomas's branch line is being repaired, and since he's too heavy to cross it during the reconstruction, the Fat Controller sends him to work on Edward's branch line, allowing Thomas to see a whole new part of the island. And thus the book follows Thomas's adventures and those of the characters on the line during his time there. The first story is called Scrambled Eggs. This is when Thomas first comes to the line and gets introduced to Bill and Ben, who of course immediately start giving him shit and teasing him, which of course pisses Thomas off.
Thomas let off steam indignantly. "Let me tell you," he began.
On one of his first runs on the line, Thomas collides with a broken down farm lorry and gets covered in broken eggs, milk and butter. His crew try to clean him off, but the heat from his boiler makes it impossible, meaning that Thomas has to finish his work before he can be cleaned.
The others are sure to say I look silly.
After Thomas arrives at Brendan, he's met with more teasing from Bill and Ben. The story ends with the twins thinking that a grinding noise that they hear is coming from their supposed stiff joints, but it turns out to be Thomas gnashing his teeth. This is a funny story, and my personal favourite in the whole book. It seems that many people love it too, as it's the story that's been adapted the most by fans. The next story, What a Picture, takes place right afterwards. A group of enthusiasts are coming to the line, and so Edward threatens not to bring them if the twins don't stop teasing Thomas. Bill and Ben spend the next week in suspense, waiting for the big day to arrive. When it does, the twins are overjoyed, but Ben is quickly called away during the photo session to help tow a ship out of the harbour before the tide goes down, leaving Bill with all but one photographer. Eventually, Bill gets called to help his twin and dashes off in a cloud of steam just as the man takes his picture. After the twins get the ship out to sea, Bill's driver finds the discarded photo, to which Bill cracks a joke by dropping the story's title. I like that this story encompasses both the twins' humorous side and the determined side. The book takes place in 1988, and so makes this story kind of a pseudo-prelude to Heroes. I also like the continuity of this one, showing that Edward is the only engine who can keep the twins in order. Trevor Helps Out brings the old faithful traction engine back. Trevor is feeling unwell, but is still able to carry out some lighter duties, such as sawing wood. As he's doing so in a field beside the line, Edward notices that the line is wobbly. On his way back, the bumpy rails cause part of his train to derail. Edward doesn't hear his guard's whistle, but luckily Trevor manages to get Edward's attention, and the line is cleared. As both a reward and a thank you, the Fat Controller pays for Trevor's boiler to be repaired. While I do like this story, it does feel a little lackluster, since Trevor managed to stop Edward before anyone was placed in immediate danger. But we'll get back to that when we talk about my version of the story. The final story is Down the Drain. This one adds a nice bit of lore to the line between the China clay pits and the harbour. Bill and Ben's line runs near the sea, and a stretch of the line along the way forms a hollow in the ground, which sometimes fills up with seawater. This stretch of line is referred to by the locals as the drain. During a particularly bad storm, Ben gets caught in the drain and his fire gets put out by a wave that crashes into him. Thomas is tasked with towing Ben out of the flood and helping him home. When the floods are over and Bill is able to join his colleagues, the twins agree to never tease Thomas again, as a way of saying thank you to the Blue Tank Engine. This is another fun story, and one that would have definitely made a fun episode for the TV show. Thomas and the Twins is a fun book, but how and where in the TV's lifespan would I have placed it for an adaptation? Well, of course, I would have adapted this book for the model series of the show. Unlike my last two Railway series videos, there aren't any characters in this book that don't exist in the show, so we can count everyone in. Now I have a couple ideas on how we can make these stories in order to add some continuity to the show, as well as potentially make use of an underused character. So, in the Season 7 episode Bill, Ben and Fergus, Thomas warns the old traction engine to be careful with the twins, since he knows how mischievous they are.
Watch out for the twins. They love to make mischief. I won't let young rascals rattle me. You don't know the twins like I do.
This may have made sense if it was said in the books, but at this point in the show, Thomas had never interacted with the twins at all. So, how would he know what they were like? Maybe it's because they were working at the quarry on his branch line by this point? I don't know. Anyway, my point is that I would have the stories from this book take place before that episode came out, in order to add some weight to Thomas's claim about the twins. But when could these episodes take place, and what changes would I make? I would say that between seasons 4 and 6 would be a good place to start. That way we can add in more continuity between the stories, and the audience will be able to remember the episodes by the time Thomas warns Fergus about Bill and Ben. Now yes, I know the clay pits are destroyed in season 3, but hey, the twins are shown to be working there in season 5, so timeline doesn't matter too much. Now as for Scrambled Eggs, there honestly isn't really anything that I would change. The story works well enough, and we get to see the fun dynamic between Thomas and the twins, so I'm fine with adapting it beat for beat. In What a Picture, I would alter it so that both the twins disappear in a cloud of smoke. Just as they get the ship out to sea, Thomas arrives just in time to have his picture taken instead. When they're done, Thomas is the one to crack a joke about the picture. This would work for me, since the twins constantly pester their drivers to polish them all week before the enthusiasts arrive, thus leaving their vanity all in vain. It would also allow Thomas to get a one-up on them after the twins made fun of him in the last story. As for Trevor Helps Out, the main change I would make here is that when Trevor whistles to alert Edward that he has lost part of his train, Edward instead notices on his own, having learned from his experience way back in Cows. Now, Trevor whistles to alert an approaching engine. That engine is of course Thomas, who just so happens to be pulling Edward's passengers, as established earlier in the book. When the Fat Controller hears about how Trevor saved not only Thomas, but his crew and the passengers, it makes Trevor's reward feel a lot more well earned. Finally, we come to Down the Drain. This one I wouldn't change all that much, but in order to make the episode a little more exciting, I would make sure that the storm didn't die down before Thomas rescues Ben. Instead, I would have the storm howling constantly, with water slowly rising around the little tank engine, making the rescue scene more intense and the rescue even more triumphant. This way, the twins would be even more grateful and inclined not to tease Thomas anymore. This would also allow all three characters to bury the hatchet more conclusively before Thomas returns home. Also, just a quick thought, if you don't want Thomas to be used for these stories, you could discard him altogether, and fill his roles with Boko in order to show us what his early life on Edward's branch line might have been like. It would certainly beef his character up a bit more, and allow him more screen time, which he really does deserve. Alright, that was my synopsis for how I would adapt Thomas and the twins. What do you guys think? How would you guys adapt these stories? Chris's books are a mixed bag for me, but this is definitely one of his better ones in my opinion, and I would have loved to have seen these stories in the TV show. As I said at the start, my next Railway Series video will be on James and the Diesel engines, so make sure to stay tuned for that one. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now until next time, I've been Cinders and Ashes UK, you've been awesome, and have a great day. Bye!